torture of
Oh my God.
onslaught of negative.
It's all negative, and it's,
Yeah.
it's not very, this, just say, give both sides of any issue and let both sides speak and then move on. I mean, I don't know. Don't get me started. But anyway, how's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, well,
I'm okay, but the people at this new job just all of a sudden decided today would be the day that they tell me that when I get up there, I need to either have a COVID vaccine pass or have negative test results that are no older than 72 hours old. I'm like, oh, so now you tell me this.
Yeah, well,
And
now, are you talking about in Maine?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Well, it's pretty easy to get a COVID test now. I mean, a vaccination.
Yeah.
My wife was just
Oh,
standing
yeah.
around in the drugstore, and somebody says, "Want a vaccine?"
Yeah,
And then we had a day yesterday where everybody got vaccinated in our business.
I'm gonna be the last person on earth that doesn't have it, though. That's how I'm doing it.
Well, I know. I like before that colonoscopy. I mean, I've been vaccinated twice. Hi, Gary. I mean, 2 shots, and they still wanted me to get a COVID test before I went to that colonoscopy thing. So that was pretty funny. Well, anyway, maybe when Dawn comes here, I think that's such a beautiful dream that she had. I just was telling my wife, just amazes me that Dawn has these fabulous dreams. I mean, they're so rich. It's like very fertile earth. Gary, did you have any dreams or that you want to share? Oh, wait, you're muted. You're muted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I do.
Okay, yeah, put it in the chat if you.
It will take me just a second.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's just, anybody got any further thoughts about Charles' dream? Charles, I think there were some things that you thought that weren't very clear, but, I think the filthy house represents with the mother means you just gotta get out somewhere, and it's all full of ego crap, and then and it's not only filled with ego crap, but it's filled with decayed food, and you can't store it very well. And so, I mean, I think Roy and Gary were right. It's just about going to Maine, and I kind of, I mean, I thought it was. Did you have any further thoughts about it, Charles? Or I know you had another dream too about the gory pictures, but
yeah. I didn't really have any more thoughts about the dream. I don't know. I'm gonna still continue to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what the whole putting the doll on the burning log thing, and then she's saying, that likely won't be enough. I want to know what that's all about.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is on that, I thought anyway, was that that the transformation in the house of the mother, the heroic adventure in the house of the mother, where that's when the father's pictures burn. That's nothing is going to happen there, So, oh, now this is Gary. You had a dream, just another dream about where your wife was still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you want to just read it?
Sure. I dream my wife is still alive, but has committed herself to an institution years ago. I realize I have not once visited her in years. I am deeply ashamed. I'm taking some supplements which I think have to do with learning, but I know this is only a temporary fix that I must change to a snake form and feed close to the ground.
Wow. Okay, well, now this, yeah, this is,
Yeah, figure this one out.
well, this is a dream. Okay, I had these dreams for years and years about emaciated dogs
Mm,
that were in the basement, and the door would open up and they would come out and they'd been there 20 years, and I didn't go down and check them, you know. And of course, this was my own body, which I wasn't paying any attention to. And that came up with Renata too. But now she she committed herself to an institution.
yeah, I think it was like a mental institution or something.
Okay.
Was the impression
Well,
I got.
some kind of let's just say a sanatorium,
Yeah.
some place. It's a hermetic vessel, really. I mean, it's sort of a place. She committed herself to an institution. Now, it could have been a mental institution, but maybe it's like a nunnery or something, but it's some place that is isolated. So that's why you didn't know she was there. But yet you realize you have not once visited her in years. So did you know she was there?
Well, it was more like it just dawned on me she's there, so it was like years and years go by. And then it suddenly dawns on me like, oh my gosh, she's there and I haven't visited.
Yeah. Well, that was what reminded me of this emaciated dogs is that the question is, should we feel ashamed if we didn't know she was there? I mean, we must have had some inclination, or maybe we didn't look her up. This was that amazing dream that my wife had, where her sister was still alive, and that she was just in hiding. And then in the middle of the night, I hear my wife speak in the dream. She says, "Ha ha, I've only been on a hiatus," and I told her that the first thing, and before I could tell her, she told me the dream, Okay, so anyway, then there's this aspect of why are we shamed? Okay, the wife, the feminine. Now, is this the real objective wife, or is this the is this? It seems to me now, the first part is from that. The second part is unrelated, seemingly, to the first part, but I think that's why it might be about about a symbolic wife, even though she's taking the place of it. That we have ignored the feminine. How long have you been widowed?
Oh, like 10 years.
10 years. Okay. And you've had girlfriends since then?
Yeah.
Yeah. But how do you feel as far as being related to the feminine inwardly? I mean, do you feel that, let me just ask you this, do you feel, now, first of all, those who can't teach, you're learning.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. If there's something I don't know, then I teach it, totally.
Yeah, I'm totally fumbly and awkward. But like every time I see a pretty girl, I'm just smitten. But I always worship them from afar, so I never, and in fact, if I go over there to socialize, my heart starts beating so much I can't even speak, and I know my face turns red and everything. So I'm very infantile still. And
well, I'll give you my counter example. So like today, okay, so I'm working on like these just really strange goddess meditations, and I was, so today I got together with my yoga instructor / Reiki teacher, and I don't know, we get together fairly often to go like the gardens or wherever, and and talk this stuff through. And like, we work on, actually worked on one of her meditations too, and worked on mine. And so, like, I feel like, and I told her, I said, well, I think for this, we're actually a pretty good match because, you cover the feminine, I cover the masculine. So, we should be able to build off of each other. So, and yet my quote unquote girlfriend, I know, I don't think she really respects me very much, to tell you the truth. I think, I'm kind of a bum when it comes down to it, like, and of course she's like the, she's over like 50 people that work under her and stuff. And, so it's like, yeah. So I think my relationship with the feminine is pretty good, although I don't know if my girlfriend would agree with that or not,
Well, that's what my wife says, she's, I say, it was like we were back to back and now we've turned around. She says, I think we're still back to back. She's pretty, I said, well, give me a list of things, your critiques. Well, let me go do hi, Dawn. We're just doing a short dream from Gary. So and then let's hear what Roy and Charles have to say. Okay, now, this is from that. So from the fact that the feminine within us has been ignored so long, and though she was in a hermetic vessel, this is why this makes me think it's the anima. It's not the real light, is that she went into this hermetic vessel and we have not once visited her in years. And so we feel deeply ashamed. Okay, now, the shame of ignoring the soul, basically. We realize we've ignored the soul for years. Then, now you're taking some supplements which you think have to do with learning. So is it like something for brain, something, you're taking a supplement so that you can retain and remember things better or something?
No, I think it's more like, help you learn in different ways or something. I mean, who knows? It might have been drugs, like hallucinogens or something.
Just something that is going to open up us to wisdom or knowledge. But this is only a temporary fix. In other words, it's not going to be a permanent attainment.
It's not going to get me all the way there.
No, that we must, that you must change to a snake form and feed close to the ground. So what is supposed to change to a snake form?
That I would literally change to a snake form.
Okay, you must change to a snake form and feed close to the ground. So the idea there is that the wisdom that you need is body wisdom, feminine wisdom, nature wisdom, and not knowledge, not learning. I mean, that's that. Now, how is that related to the first part? What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, well, let's let Gary clear this out. Do you associate the first part of the dream with your late wife in any way?
Well, when I wrote it down, I was like, oh my gosh, talk about a, ego destroying dream, So, I wasn't, when I wrote it down, I wasn't thinking anima. And I also had probably like one of those weird guilt things in that, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about her,
Well, that could be. Yeah.
Do you dream about her very often?
No, hardly ever.
Yeah, I had bunches of wives. I dream about all of them, even the first one, all the time. So I was just wondering. So you don't think it's related to your wife?
my wishful thinking is that what Craig said is true, is that it's the anima, in the hermetic container. But, I think that might be more like, trying to avoid guilt or something,
So it sounds like the animal sounds better. I mean, to you, you relate to that.
I should say that if I had a choice, if I had a druthers, I'd choose anima, because, just because the other was just quite a, that would be painful, to think that somehow I dishonored the memory.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's painful. That's not a reason to go for the animal because it's painful. But you got to come up with something better than that.
Well, it's like, yeah, I hear you.
She will be.
I'm waffling,
No, you can't waffle. You're before the collective unconscious. You have to come clean.
Yeah, and it's like, and the problem is, I just don't know. It's like, this was just like just this really strange dream, like, because I remember I woke up and it was like, there was this second of disorientation, like she's in an institution. You're like, what? So I guess in that sense, it would be like, wife, but that might have just been like the rational mind trying to grab hold. So, it's that I truthfully can't really answer it, because it's like, the first time you look at a dream and you think it means, one thing, and then it kind of turns out to mean something totally different.
Well, you use the word think a lot. How do you feel? How do you feel about this? Well,
ashamed. There it is, right there.
Well, then yeah, that should be a proper response if you're feeling, and maybe the dream's saying you should explore that.
Yeah.
Because it'll take you to a new place. And when the snake's close to the ground, he can feel, he can sense things, all kind of stuff crawling on the ground with his tongue going out, touching things, he can, it's not about thinking.
Yeah.
You're getting right down, you're getting down to the roots now, into feeling more like primal stuff. So you got to just get rid of the thinking like this. You're going to take supplements that have to do with learning stuff, thinking. That's just temporary. That's not what you need right now.
Right.
The dream wants you to really get down.
Yeah, something to do with nature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good, Roy.
But do you think the dream maker has nostalgia for something, a person that passed away a long time ago?
Oh, I have dreams about all my wives, and my first wife. I have a lot of guilt that I never got over, and it comes in my dreams, and that's the dream maker. And
now,
why shouldn't the dream maker give you images to bring up feelings? Why shouldn't it? It loves affectivity. If it can give you some affectivity, it's going to just bomb you with it.
So then the woman isn't the point; it's the affectivity, bringing up feeling function or something.
Well, the woman's related to the affectivity.
Yeah,
that's the image.
Yeah, because remember, the dream ego is not you.
But it's related to you.
It's related to you. It's what the dream maker thinks about you. Not what you think about you, because what it does is often throws you in a really embarrassing situation. So it's saying, here's what the way I see you. Well,
then it's like it's doing the same thing I'm doing to Gary. It's questioning Gary about this image. So let's just say I'm the dream maker and I'm questioning Gary about this image.
Don't you think it's kind of funny though that it says that to me that of course now I totally misinterpreted that dream last time about the complex surprise. I really went off. But to me, it's saying that our connection with our union with the soul is being neglected greatly. And
but how's it going to get the affectivity? It's not going to get it talking about the animal because that's just too abstract. It has to associate it to a woman that Gary has a relationship to get the affectivity. It's too abstract to see an animal. It's not going to get any affectivity.
But let's say the soul, your soul, our soul, everybody's soul, is really alive and is a living being. And
It is.
feeling great pain that you're neglecting her and saying, what would you do if you found out that your wife had been alive for these last 10 years and you had completely ignored her? Wouldn't you feel horrible?
Well,
Well,
now
what
we're
about
talking.
me?
Now we're talking. We're relating. The dream maker, the soul's got to relate it to something to get feelings in Gary.
You would feel
I mean,
horrible.
you see how it picked that image?
Yeah.
It could have picked an image of some lady he met in the grocery store, or
It
it could
wouldn't
have
be the
picked.
same.
No, it's very important what image it picks. Why did it pick that image of a woman when there's 4 billion women walking around?
And then it shifts after it says, how would you feel if you found out your wife had been alive all these years and you've been neglecting her? Well, how would you feel if I've been with you your entire life and you're neglecting me?
But what's the difference? What's the difference?
Well, the thing is, she is alive in him. It's his inner feminine that he's neglecting. And she's saying, how would you feel if you found out you neglected your wife? Well, you've been neglecting me just like you would have if you'd found out your wife had been alive all these years.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Now,
And if
how
you
about
take
this?
it literal, it's his wife. But if you take it Jungian, it's the soul.
Who is alive, by the way? I mean, that's what it. Do we ever get that through?
Everybody's
our
alive. Even
Yeah.
when you're dead, you're alive. It's nothing but life. I mean, when you die, you would not believe the life that you see on the other side. I mean, it's even more alive than it is on this side. It's unbelievable.
Well,
It's all life. The dead stuff is the stuff that it's not alive anymore. It's like the dead branch that he broke off on that tree. And that's a dead thing. But it doesn't matter if something's dead or alive. You know if it's alive. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. You can have a dead limb on the middle world side of the fence, and you can have a dead limb on the physical world side of the fence, and you can tell the difference. I mean, think about that.
Well, I'm just going to try one more time with this. Let's say that our soul is a woman or is feminine, or in Dawn it would be male, and they are real and they are alive in us, and they just see us going about our lives as if they didn't exist, So then they come up with this little image. Then they shift to this. They say that your neglect of me is just like your neglect of nature. I mean, you think that wisdom comes from you're gonna this is why Jung hated drugs. There's a great obligation from having an experience with the unconscious. It requires a response that is equal to the image, and so people who took drugs and he says, by the way, those images are something that come to you because you earned them. You earned them, and to take drugs is this cheap way, and then there is no obligation, no moral obligation to the image. But anyway, she's bringing up the cheapness of the supplements and learning, the temporary fix. That's cheap. That's a cheap way to me. If you want to stop neglecting me, you need snake wisdom. And then you will stop neglecting me. You would never neglect me if you had snake wisdom. If you had snake wisdom, you would know I'm real, and you absolutely couldn't neglect me.
Well, the dream doesn't make any sense to me unless it's his wife, something that can bring some affectivity. I don't believe the soul can, in general, bring any affectivity in a person's dream. It's just too abstract.
Yeah. What do you think, Charles? What do you?
I was thinking about the fact that the dream says that she like checked herself into the asylum. And so I was just curious about that. I'd been thinking about that, and I was just like, yeah, it's rather curious that his wife would kind of, I don't know, the let's say it's the anima, or the inner feminine, kind of like for some reason felt the need to take refuge in asylum somewhere within the psyche. Makes me think of like a, you know, well, I don't know. It's like, why do you go to a asylum? Because you either can't function or you're like a danger to others or yourself. And it is almost like, if it wasn't voluntary, I would have said that maybe it was kind of like Tim's dream, maybe, where that kind of rational, overly rational, too logos oriented aspect of the psyche wants to sort of detain and kind of put the feminine in a box out of that too much of a desire for things to be too orderly. But excuse me, but I don't know. It's almost like the inner feminine just almost grew like dysfunctional within the dreamer, and had to withdraw voluntarily, which I just find really interesting. And the idea about turning into the snake and feeding low to the ground just brings up with me, I've been thinking about if I am going to take the leap and try to study academically, like psychology, and go into the field of work. And it just had me thinking of like, I feel like a lot of, including myself, a lot of people get hung up in life because they're just not willing to like just totally let go. And I feel like transforming into a snake to feed low to the ground makes me think of that. Makes me think of just letting go of everything. And I mean everything. And experiencing life again on the most absolutely basic fundamental ways, for a total regeneration, and just starting from the absolute bottom primal level after letting go of everything. And that's just kind of what it was making me think of.
Well, that's an interesting observation, Charles, because if we go back to the previous dream, we were installing a new database. To me, a database is like, it's the basis upon which you then build, And this,
that was a beautiful dream, by the way.
And this kind of, this is almost along the same line. It's like, it's like building from, something completely different.
Yeah,
that's the only fix.
Yeah, I mean the thing that seems to be the issue, I think, is there is a neglect. Well, let's first of all let's say we committed ourselves to an institution. Okay, now that has a big stigma to it, but my wife has lots of people who temporarily go to a treatment center or something where it's they're going to live there for a while, and the whole idea is it is some place that is closed off from it is closed off from the outside world, from the ordinary world, and they're in there to become whole. So the idea is, as long as you're not completely crazy, and irretrievable, a lot of people, I mean, who have nervous breakdowns, will go to some place like that, just a place to be near therapists and stuff or let's say you have a PTSD, you just came back from war, or something. I mean, it's an area to recharge or something, So, but I think the main thing is it's isolated from the outside world. So she's went to a place that's isolated from the outside world. Okay, but we didn't know she was there, So I think I don't know. I mean, the whole idea is that I agree with Roy that the image of the wife is going to bring up deep connections with the feminine, and in the alchemical texts, the soul says that all therapy is a descent into the depths to rescue the soul who is imprisoned there. In other words, that living source of wisdom within us, which is our inner half, which is as conscious as we are, but is conscious in the inner world, and is the one who's helping to send us these fabulous images that we have every night. I mean, somebody's sending them to us, and they know us intimately. They see things we don't see in the daily world, and some of the things they see, they say, "Oh, now, okay." Now, my mother was great at this. If you ever hurt her feelings, she might not say anything for a month or so, but then suddenly the tables would turn, and you were doing the same thing she would do, and she just, "Oh, I couldn't do that. Look at you. You're doing this thing that," I mean, it's sort of an analogy of the fact. Now, what did did your wife? She didn't have any
No.
mental issues, did she?
Well, she was, agoraphobic, but other than that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, but it's followed by, let's even ignore that first part of the dream. The second part of the dream is that is learning is not the same thing as snake wisdom. Okay. The feminine has been ignored, whoever it is. We are ashamed. And then the second part of the dream, which is a complement to the first part of the dream, is learning and snake wisdom aren't the same. Learning and snake wisdom aren't the same, especially the false learning. False learning is taking supplements. Snake wisdom is genuine wisdom, and you learn it close to the earth. You have to be very close to the earth. Like that one thing that Jung quotes in Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, where the person comes to the rabbi and says in olden days people heard the voice of God, and now we don't hear it anymore. Why don't we? And he says, the rabbi says, today no one can stoop that low. In other words, to be humble enough to hear it. So this idea of the snake wisdom is to be close to the ground, feed close to the ground. So feeding close to the ground to get the wisdom of the earth is related to the fact that we've been ignoring and neglecting the feminine. So so being close to the earth and getting its spiritual food, or its psychic food, and as opposed to fake learning, especially with supplements, is related to the fact that we aren't doing that we aren't getting the snake wisdom, is related to ignoring the feminine. You know, they're analogous, you know, and neglecting her, because that word neglecting is very important, because in alchemy, the inner feminine says this. She says, "Don't ignore me because I'm so black and covered with mire. It's your lack of your neglect of me that has made me thus." In other words, we don't bring the light of consciousness onto these figures, so they seem dark and indistinct. You know, in the mire means that they're prima materia. They haven't emerged from the darkness yet, and they haven't because the ego hasn't lent them its light. You know, so the feminine aspect of us, which is you know what's missing, you know, what we lack, eros, is you know, she's and I agree with everything that Roy it says. If this hadn't been your wife, it wouldn't have the same heavy gravity that it would with any other woman. So you have neglected me, your other half. How? I mean, now there, I am as important as your wife in you, you know, because I'm. Well, let me just mention one thing Jung said in Red Book. You know, is his soul, his living feminine half, told him, "You're my projection. I'm not your projection. I'm here before you were born. I'm here after you were born. And you are the way I learn. You know, you are giving me the lessons that I need when you're gone. So I'm learning from, I need to find out what you find out in time and space so that I can develop in the next world." But I just think that the thing is that the wisdom learned close to the earth, which is genuine and not fake supplements, is related. The fact that we aren't doing that, instead we're taking fake supplements, is related exactly to our neglect of the feminine aspect within us. You know, I mean, what do you think, Roy? I'm not disagreeing with anything you say. I think it's very important.
Well, I'm bringing in both things, the soul and the physical plane that we live on. So if you don't connect it to something in physical life, you forget the snake. You're not anywhere near the snake on the ground. You have to do both. You have to connect with the soul, but you do it through connecting with something in the physical realm. You know, you're doing both. If you just do the physical realm, then you're just purely materialistic. And if you just do the soul realm, you're just totally idealistic. And you're not going to get anywhere just being on one side. You know, Jung talks about you have to be up in the canopy of the tree and down in the roots. You have to do them both simultaneously, and that's what makes it so hard. You know, that's why it's work. That's why it's really difficult for the ego to wrap your head around it, because how can you do both simultaneously? But we have to.
There has to be that tension. You have to have fox wisdom and rose wisdom. You know, you have to have the wisdom of the fox on earth and the wisdom of the rose in the other world. You know, and you must be friends with both of them. You know, you can't choose in favor of the rose or choose in favor of the fox. You need to be friends with both the fox, the body, and the inanimate living presences in the inner world. And I would say too that Roy and Gary are very good for both me and Charles, because they are much more related to the reality function than I think either Charles or I are. Well, Charles, did you have any final comments on the dream? And then we'll hear from Gary.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, how about you, Gary?
Well, I think
Any
it's all
enlightenment from?
Yeah, I really appreciated everything everyone had to say. Definitely gave me a little more insight. And and I like I like what you did, Roy, where you took like what is the affect, and so it's, to me, you have to have affect in order to take action. So but I could also see that that maybe the wife is the that was used because that would have a heavy affect, and yet it could refer to the soul. But because if it was just the soul, that wouldn't have any affect. And so I think that would agree with what both you and Craig said.
It's both. How do you do both?
Yeah.
It's not they're using one to get you the attention of the soul. It's both. It's you're supposed to give both equal attention.
Right.
Just like the fox and the rose. You're supposed to give both equal attention. Well, how you can do that? It just totally baffles the ego. Well, the collective unconscious doesn't care. Do it anyway. Figure it out. If you ask the collective unconscious for help, I'm sure it would love to help you. Or your soul for help would love to help you. It wants both.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I like the pithy nature of the first part and the pithy nature of the second part.
It was a very pithy dream.
Well, yes, and the fact that they are counterpoised against each other. The snake wisdom and the feminine wisdom are, you can't have one without the other. You need, there's a feminine wisdom and there's a nature wisdom, and they are related. You can't have feminine wisdom without nature wisdom, and you can't have nature wisdom without eros, because there's no logos in those either one. And we are too much logos, with our supplements for learning, we're trying to find out with our supplements for learning, we're trying to supplement logos, which we've already got way too much of. What we need is to stop neglecting the feminine, and to have and to be low to the ground and close and learn the wisdom of the earth, and as Renata told me, your body, Craig, is a little earth. Why don't you learn from your own earth? Be low to the ground and have snake wisdom. Does anybody have any comments on Dawn's comment? You used the word conscious for the soul. The soul is alive, I think. I want to know if others here think the same thing. It certainly confuses me, because I feel like that is saying that the personal unconscious is conscious. Not the personal unconscious would be the shadow, but the soul is not part of our personal unconscious. It is part of the collective unconscious. So we have no access to her wisdom, and she is not dependent on consciousness or the ego. She's there whether we pay any attention to her or not, and she is the source. They say that she has a very intimate friend with whom she confides in always, and that's the archetype of wholeness, and so she's the bridge to wholeness, but she's not in the personal unconscious. The shadow is in the personal unconscious. And anyway, does anybody have any comments on that? Roy or Gary?
Well, I like to think of it as the collective unconscious is like nature. And nature reacts to things that people do. Like we're having climate change now. Now they changed it climate emergency, that all the human activity is causing nature to respond in a certain way. Now, is that intelligence? I think it is intelligence. I would call that more intelligent than we are. We can invent all this stuff, but it's not going to do us any good if it's going to make us go extinct. And nature doesn't deal with extinction because it's been going on for just in our solar system for 13 billion years. I mean, the universe, it's been going on, and I haven't seen extinction. You know, things come and go, but you know, it's still life. It's still life in some form, consciousness, life. Now that's nature. Now, is that intelligent? Or somebody that can do math and make a computer and a car or something intelligent? You know, I think the real intelligence is nature.
Yeah,
objective intelligence.
Yeah,
objective reality.
Yeah, it's wisdom of being alive, and it's not, and it's more wordless, you know, where knowledge is not wisdom of being alive. You know, it's the wisdom of being alive. Let's say being alive and being in harmony with nature consciously is wisdom. But just being very book smart is not being in harmony with nature consciously. I mean, that's not. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I guess I'm not. I think I agree with what you said earlier about the. It's a part of what makes up the whole of the collective unconscious.
Yeah, we do have a personal unconscious, but that the personal unconscious tends to be those things which we do compulsively. You know, I mean, you know, we, you know, since I'm, my inferior function is sensate, sometimes I just eat without even thinking about it, you know, or I drink 20 diet sodas a day or something, or, you know, I mean, we all have some things we do which we're not even aware we're doing them, you know, because we're not doing them consciously. We're just doing them unconsciously. And the shadow is those things we do through willfulness without being conscious of it. You know, I mean, we do it because of desire and fear, but we don't do it consciously. We do it unconsciously. Or, you know, if you were conscious of everything you did, in other words, consciousness is distance from the act, you know, so you can see yourself. Now, wait a second, why are you drinking that 14th soda of the day? Stop. That's enough. And then you stop. Now that's consciousness, you know, because you're actually then controlling your own behavior, and in a way that is not, you know, like a horse eating till it founders, you know, I mean, that's not, you know, you're only supposed to eat as much as you need, you know, not just gorge yourselves. I mean, like in nature, you rarely see animal that is grossly overweight unless it's hibernating, you know, for the winter or something. But anyway, the personal unconscious is certainly unconscious, but it's unconscious to ego. The collective unconscious is non-ego, where the personal unconscious, it is ego, but we don't know we're doing it. But the collective unconscious is non-ego. Nature is non-ego. You know, it's things. Body is non-ego. Your liver is non-ego. You know, your heart and your lungs. The ego has no control over them. But anyway, we're going to see this in Dawn's dream, which, Dawn, this is just so full of depth. It's just absolutely stupefying. You know, and I was just telling my wife that too, you know, that, well, let's just start with, and I'm going to go through it here because it's got some really important things in it. Now, we're late for a medical appointment. So we should have started earlier for something to do with healing, with something to do with, we need healing. And yet we should have started earlier, and we're going to, and then we have this, we're trying to mentally remind ourselves so we don't miss it, but we become too distracted. In other words, this great need for healing, the ego it has to remind itself that it needs it. I mean, it's something that transcends ego, but ego is so into itself that it has the potential of forgetting about it, you know. But and so it's just this symbolic that this appointment is with the unconscious, but ego is too distracted with its own concerns, it might forget. And suddenly, now this is very interesting here because it reminds me of a great religious image. Suddenly we have the impression that the opportunity was missed, and we try to assess the consequences of it. You know, I used to, when it's like 20 below zero, our dogs lived in the garage and their water was in the garage, and my wife would leave the garage door open. And I go in there, their water's a block of ice, and they're sitting there shivering on their beds. And I come in and I said, "You left the garage door open." You know, when you do that, the water freezes and the dogs get really cold. And she said, "Okay, I left the garage door open. You don't have to tell me the consequences of leaving the garage door open. I know what happens when you leave the garage door open. So don't tell me the consequences." So anyway, but in this case, what are the consequences of missing this appointment, you know, to the to healing? Now, this is what really hit me dizzyingly. This is just dizzying, makes me dizzy. We realize we've been in the place of healing all along. Okay. Now, have you ever heard of the wisdom of the yonder shore? I mean, Joseph Campbell tells this story that you're in Manhattan and you see across the bay is New Jersey, the Garden State, and you long to be there, you know, and you just look at it longingly. And then one day a ferryman comes and he says, "Anyone for Jersey, the Garden State?" And you say, "I." And he says, "Okay, think hard. You're going to have to leave everything in Manhattan behind, and there's no turning back. Are you in?" He says, "I'm in." So then you get in the boat, and it's no quick journey. I mean, he says it takes a long time, and you learn to love the splash of the waves and the smell of the water. And there isn't much to do on there. You just count beads or something, and then, but one day, bump, you're hit New Jersey. You're there, you know, and you get off on the shore, and then there's this wonderful statement. Having in gratitude for the boat that got you there to the yonder shore, should you take the boat and put it on your back and carry it with you while you walk around the yonder shore? In other words, should that the idea is that the vessel that you got there was, say, organized religion, but do you then carry it around with you everywhere you go on the yonder shore? No. Well, then you say you're on the undershore, and then you turn around and you say, I wonder what Manhattan looks like from here. And you turn around and look. There's no Manhattan. There's no bay between. You were there all along, and you didn't know it. You know, and this is the wisdom of Mahayana Buddhism. You know, that you know, when the disciples asked Jesus, they said, "When will the kingdom of the Father come?" You know, and he says, "It will not come by expectation." This is from the Thomas Gospel. Men will not say, "See here, see there." The kingdom of the Father is spread up on the earth right now, but men do not see it. It is here. It is here. And then the Hindus say, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. You are the mystery that you seek. You are the treasure hard to attain. You know, and then the Buddhists say, Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, the jewel, the mystery we seek is in the lotus of the earth, in the world we live in. So, you know, now the only thing is, this was so beautiful to me that say dizzyingly, we learn that we've been in the place of healing all along. So we were in this eternal world, but didn't know it. And we say out loud, this is the appointment. This is the appointment. We were at the appointment all along and didn't know it, you know. So then suddenly the appointment seems to be with a therapist, but an unknown wise old woman. And now so we want to start therapy with her, but we see in the corner that there is some other person there who's doing something very interesting. She has books and she's putting different titles on the books. Now she's putting different okay, so let's say she's got Moby Dick and she's going to put Harry Potter on it, you know. I mean, what is the purpose of having a book and putting a different title on it? Also, she puts them on in gold. So is the fact that now there's nothing said about the contents of the book. All it says is that she's retitling them in gold. So what does it mean for a person who's got this great big stack of books and she's retitling them in gold? You know, what is of value, the inner contents of the book or the title that's written on them in gold? You know, and why is she retitling them? Just a very curious image, and she's doing it off in the corner. And then, but the wise old woman says, "Well, don't worry about it. That part hasn't started yet." You know. Now again, this is the appointment. You know, that was this realization. So maybe the session and the therapy session is her titling the book and everything that's happening. And it really is, because then we meet the wise old man, and ego is drawn to him. It's wonders about him, you know. Now he's connected with song and plays songs. And now, what is music? You know, music is the rhythm and pattern of the depths. You know, what was really interesting to me was there was a person a Japanese geneticist, who took the genome of DNA of different parts of different aspects of biological material and assigned musical notes, and then played the musical notes in a Moog synthesizer, you know. And this was back when they had Moog synthesizers, you know, it was quite a while ago. But anyway, he played it of the of the clear part of the eye, the lens that covers the eye, and he says it sounded like Vivaldi's Four Seasons when it played, you know. And when he played it of the cancerous OCO gene, you know, the genetic, you know, this distortion, OCO gene they call it, it sounded like Chopin's Death March, you know. So, and what it is particularly music that is instrumental, you know, classical or jazz or a dance tune, you know, is what's happening within us when you hear it? Well, it certainly happens to Dawn. She gets up and starts to skip like a child. So it wakes in us this freshness of new youth, and then the natural aspects within. And so the music is now, but then we see that he's addressing the woman in the red dress. Now this brings up what I think Roy was talking about. The woman in the red dress represents eros, or the feeling function. She's wearing the color of the feeling function. And this wise old man song is, now, who is the woman in the red dress? I think she's our feeling function, you know. And he is composing this song for Dawn's feeling function and this wisdom of the feeling function, of her feeling function. And she was roused. The woman in the dress was roused. Now, what does she do? She ascends the tower and then descends the tower and goes through the base. So through rousing the feeling function, it goes into the tower of spirit and then descends down through it. So she's experienced eros and spirit combined through the music of the wise old man. And then the wise old man says this unbelievably profound thing, you know, that, well, first of all, she's magical and archetypal because of her mask, of her geisha mask, and also the fact that it might really be related to the Day of the Dead or the Day of the Ancestors, that she is an archetypal being. So that's why I think she's definitely is the archetype of the feeling function, or of eros. Probably it would be more powerful to say she's of eros. Then the wise old man announces, people wait for me to make songs because they have answers in them. You know, my songs have answers in them. Well, apparently both Dawn and the woman in the red dress agree, you know, that his songs have answers in them. And so maybe he means answers about her. He also mentions how much money he gets paid for these songs, how much he gets psychic energy from them. Then the dream gets more strange and foggy. The woman is some way, I think, connected to a suspense thriller that I've seen on TV. I don't know what character she plays, but she seems like a man that plays a woman, or a woman that plays a man. So she's androgyne, you know. She's hermaphrodite. She's Hermes and Aphrodite. So she's the feminine aspect of Hermes. And that's why I think she's more geisha, like, you know, she's this just this wonderful archetypal being. So anyway, let's just quickly summarize the main themes of it. We think we are missing an appointment, but we were there all the time. We were there all the time. And then the therapist is there, and we think that the session is going to be ignored by this unusual woman who's putting new titles on old books in gold. Now that's so strange. It just, I mean, it's both strange and very powerful, you know. And then the old wise old man, don't worry about that. And then it is the mysterious wise old man and his songs that people wait for because they have answers, who both waken the youthful aspect in ourselves and rouse this archetypal woman in red, you know, who is who's either a woman, who's a man, or a man and a woman. I mean, anyway, she transcends gender, you know, but she tends to represent, if she would be Eros, maybe she represents Dionysus, anything non-Apollonian, you know. And the only real logos we see in here, because the wise old man, as Roy said last time, was kind of like Green Man, is the tower. And this is this woman in the red dress, like Hermes, ascends the tower and then returns to the earth, you know. And what roused the woman in red dress to do it was the wise old man. People wait for my songs because sometimes they have answers in them. Well, who would say something? That is the self. People wait for my images because sometimes they have answers in them. Okay, well, anyway, I went on pretty lyrically. What do you think, Roy? That was way too much, overboard.
Yeah, I'm still kind of staying where I was at. I look at, her therapist didn't look like her therapist, and Dawn has anxiety, and her husband's concerned about it. Well, they don't know what's going on. Therapists don't know what's going on. Her husband don't know what's going on. Dawn knows what's going on, but she can't act on it. And this incredible lady that has the gold stencil, I mean, to me, she makes the archetypes. She's the gatekeeper of the archetypes. I mean, you can't get anybody more prominent than that in your dream. I mean, it's just awesome. I haven't seen something like this before. I mean, to me. And then it turns really magical. It's so pre-Christian. All these characters in Dawn's dream are like very pre-Christian. No wonder they freak her out. You know, they're so pre-Christian. And you know, he's at a bar. I mean, there's booze. It's so Dionysian, like you say, the opposite of Apollonian, Dionysian stuff. And I just, it got to Dawn. I mean, she was like a child skipping. It got to her. But I think maybe when she matures and stuff, she's going to be like the lady in the red dress. She's going to know so much, and she's going to understand these oracles and this Dionysian stuff and this pre-Christian stuff. She's going to understand it. She's going to be like the lady in the red dress.
I think the lady in the red dress is related to Dawn. And that was the one thing I missed, that thing about the husband. The fact that what she was worried about was that the husband would be upset because she didn't know where she was and what she was doing, and she was getting, you know, dizzy, you know. But it's because she went in the internal world. So I think that the husband here represents sort of the conventional life with not the non-eternal world. Will be very upset with me because I'm really entering this pre-Christian sort of a well, it's just like you say, it's just a pre-Christian magical kingdom, you know. What do you think?
Kind of Dawn's under a trance of this pre-Christian stuff all the time. People must really be getting on her case.
Yeah, well, it's actually anything pre-Christian is really nature, you know. I mean, it's the snake wisdom. I mean, what do you think, Gary? I mean, you've been doing some really good free association.
I like both what you said and Roy said. You know, but just to make clear, you know, I think the therapy session she finds she's already there, but also I believe the therapy session continues throughout the dream. So the dream really is the therapy session. So the things that are going on is actually the therapy. And as an example, the relabeling, with the gold stencil of the books, like, this could be when we reflect on things that we've already learned. We learn. It's like learning can turn to wisdom, and so to me, this is like, um, you know, the act of actually pulling it together. Now, the concern about what the husband will think, I'm actually interpreting that in a little bit different way. If we think of that as the collective, and if you think of like individuation, then one of the things that happens in individuation is that you stop acting according to society's mores and you start going by your own mores. And so, there's probably going to be a question of like, well, okay, we're going to go in some pretty strange directions here. I don't really know, what society, what the collective is actually going to think. So then, we have, the music man, the geisha, the mask, all these things, just feel like, advancements in the journey, like the various stages that you have to go through, that in order to get to wherever there is. And I think other than that, those are the main additions. Otherwise, I pretty much agree with what you said. I did find it interesting, the suspense thriller, because, okay, in a thriller, you don't quite know what's going to happen. And I think, what we have here is it's like, okay, this is kind of where we're at, but, now where this goes to from here is up to you. So it's almost like a question from the self to her, like, okay, where do we go from here?
The two fabulous statements. One is her, this is the appointment, So, I mean, everything that happens in here is the appointment. I'm going to be late for the medical appointment. I'm going to miss it completely. And then suddenly she realized, hey, I'm here. This is the appointment. So it's this aspect of that she sort of recognizes that she's she is in time and eternity at the same time, So and this husband, oh, who cares what he thinks, he doesn't realize that there is this hidden world underneath. And when we meet the hidden world underneath, then we see this person that Roy thinks is Roy's mentioning, this woman of the archetypes who's in gold. It's very important that she's using gold, is retitling books in gold, putting the archetype or something, imprinting something in gold. Gold means value. Gold means that is the most valuable thing. It's the treasure. She is putting the name of treasure on these containers of wisdom. What do you think, Charles?
Hold on. I had some notes that I took earlier today when I was looking at the stream. So I'll just read my notes verbatim.
Okay, sure.
It is past time that I might be healed and made whole. I'm having difficulty orienting myself towards it in time. Being inside the place I need to be, I cannot see it, but realize I've been exactly where I need to be. Possibly the idea that the feminine just needs to be still in order to find the Grail Castle. A critical energy from the animus is present, and that critical energy could prevent stillness. And then in the second part, the man is in a festive place of spirits. old and wise, and has answers to the questions of life. His abstract creative solutions garner immense energy and produce meaning, and he rouses the feeling and passion within the dreamer, hence Woman in the Red Dress, and the dreamer's reaction to his songs.
Yeah, it's I don't know if Dawn, you have any comments about it. I mean, I'm just saying that the images, every single image is so people wait for my song because sometimes they find answers in it. Okay, now he's over there, and there's people gathered around waiting to hear the songs of the gray bearded man, because sometimes they find answers in them. You know, that's just now what a haunting statement, Dawn, for your dream, or for any of our dreams. You know, that the self, people wait to hear the music of the self because it sometimes has answers for them. You know, and then this wise old therapist doesn't say anything, just kind of presides over it. She's unknown. She's not a real therapist, so she's the unknown wise old woman. And then that's a second of 4 characters in here that are very important. The other is the woman in the corner who's retitling things in gold. And then the 4th one is the woman in red who goes up into the tower and then descends when she hears the music. So when she hears the music, and he's addressing her, the self is addressing the woman in red. We turn, while we're skipping like a child, we look back at the old man to see what he's doing, and we see that he's addressing the woman in the red. And the woman in the red is roused, and through the stimulant of his song goes into a tower and then comes back down and goes out the base. Well, this is what we're supposed to do. You know, isn't this what we're supposed to do? You know, we're supposed to, as someone with an animus, you know, and in need of spirit, we need to go up, ascend into the spiritual realm, and then come back down. Okay, now Dawn, is that a picture that you did? Wait, did you put that up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
Because I didn't go high in the tower. I just kind of went through it. So.
Mm-hmm. Now you said was it you or the red woman in the red?
Her.
Okay, but it is you. Really, I think that is the that is you're watching the whole and healed Dawn do that. I think that the woman in red, didn't you say that too, Roy, that you think
that's what I said? Yeah.
The woman in the red is, you are viewing the aspect of you. Let's just say this is a drama that is played out. The old man plays the music. Now he's addressing the woman in red. You're looking back to see what's going on, but you're seeing your own inner drama occurring. And the wise old man plays the music, causes the woman. Now you don't go up very high, is what you're saying. You just go up somewhat into the tower. Now remember, we have a problem going vertically, but here the woman in red is now remember that every once in a while you see, remember Kevin, remember Kevin when he was here? He sees himself in a window of a store, but there are eyes there that are unblinking and full of wisdom. you know, so we are looking at our true inner self, our personality number 2, you know, the one who resides in both worlds, the magical one with the geisha face that's related to the ancestors. So you are looking at the same thing Kevin saw in that window. And that's why you went up into the tower only a little bit and then came back down. Could you put that picture up one more time? I don't know why it went off so quick. Just share it for a second more. It wasn't on there very long. We're just, there you go. Okay, so it's a very vertical tower. You didn't go up maybe even to the first window, you think, or what? How far up do you think you went? Not sure, but you didn't go up very far is what you said, and then you come back down, you know. So anyway, go ahead.
I was trying to get out of screen share when you asked me a question, and I couldn't find my microphone. What did you say to me?
Oh, I said, do you think you went up to the first window, or how far up did you think you went?
No, I stayed on the very first floor.
On the very first floor. Okay, but at least you went into the tower and then you descended the steps. But now you really have, you're making an identity with the woman in red, which is exactly, I think, was the meaning of this dream. Okay, we go for therapy, you know, and we find out we're the woman in the red, that we have an eternal double, you know, who is a geisha, you know, and a woman who is full of suspense and has united the masculine and the feminine within herself, you know. So she is the God side of us. Now, wouldn't that be funny if every one of us had one of those and don't know it? Roy, do you have any comments about the whole thing?
One more thing I wanted to add was, you could say there was 2 animuses in this dream. The one animus, okay, here we go, the husband. I am nervous that my husband will get upset with me for not realizing what is going on around me. That's the guy in the pit. That's the animus in the pit. But the graybeard, he's the guy out of the pit. Here we go again. The 2 animuses, I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and wasn't the guy in the pit had a wedding ring and the wedding ring was missing? Wasn't that what happened? I mean, you could see the thing on, and somehow, but he was sort of a.
I said he was
obstacle.
Married to Dawn. He was married to Dawn.
Yeah, he was a negative animus, you know, and I think here the graybeard is not the negative animus, you know, and what he invites us to do is to ascend in the spirit. We at least go in the tower of spirit and come back out, and we do so at the invitation of his music, which may have answers for people. I mean, this is just such a, I was telling my wife about this at dinner, how beautiful this dream is. Gary, do you have any further thoughts about it?
No, although, you know, I find that Roy's last observation to be really interesting. The 2 animuses, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I'll tell you, Dawn, I mean, I was just telling my wife, the richness and the fertile ground of this, of your dream maker are just never cease to amaze me. I don't think there's been one dream that I didn't find just awe-inspiring. You know, does anyone else want to present a dream? I could just tell you a couple of the dreams I've been having, which are, you know, I'm repairing for this Renata, and
yeah, we want to hear your dream you're going to use with Renata.
Well, let me just tell you, I mean, these strange dreams, I just said they were very odd. You know, I'm having, now here's one, that the dogs were going to have body put into them, steak. You know, I was to put, now I had an active imagination, same thing came out, bunch of big slabs of flesh, and then a fork's put in it, you know. But in this case, I was to put, there were steaks put in the instinctive animal to like cook it, you know. This body needed to be more instinctive. The fleshly aspects needed to be more instinctive, and the only way they could become more instinctive would be put in the dog, the instincts, and sit there for a while, cook, you know. And then I'm supposed to remove them, but somehow I get them out without stitches. You know, they just come out. And then the vet said, well, wasn't there a wound? Well, anyway, that was one. But then there was this strange thing about that I couldn't walk up hills, you know, and that I would go up and I was coming back. Now that I was just going to tell you, that was one body dream, and the other one was a very strange dream where Amy and I and two dogs. One dog has feet like a human and hands like a human, and we are trapped in a Japanese industrial airport, and we can't get out. We just keep crawling over grimy old equipment, and then finally, and we have this deal where we keep accidentally going into parking ramps, and then we can't get out because the parking ticket was ripped in half. And then I hear this loud bark. We'd lost the two dogs, and then I hear this loud bark, and there are dogs living in the place where the gate goes up on the parking thing, and a lot of them are dead, you know. And then finally, the guys, I got separated from Amy. I got separated from the dogs. I can't find my way out. And suddenly somebody comes over and says that Amy is at gate 168. Okay. 1 is the self, 6 is 2 3s, and 8 is 2 4s. So it's the self, the masculine, and the feminine. That's where she's waiting for me, you know, but we can't find it. You know, at one point I get close to it and I can smell the outdoors. And here comes a bunch of hippies with that are going to go listen to a rock band, you know. But anyway, that was, and then I see my Aunt Chris, who's very attractive, yet everywhere she goes, she's topless, but her breasts are covered in mud. Okay, now these are all the dreams I had before I had my analysis with Renata.
You know, she's going to probably pay you to do the analysis,
well,
and then write a book is what's going to happen. You know?
They're so body related. I mean, they're just related to, every single one of them is related to earthy body, you know, instinctive, you know, that my body needs to be incubated in instinct before I can use it, you know. And anyway, of course, my appointment with this craniosacral person's Friday at
yeah, we want to hear how that goes too.
I really would. I'd like to hear. It'd be nice if every one of us did it and kind of shared notes. Of course, Roy's done it many times. And what Roy, I think what you said is it doesn't last.
But no, it won't even last till you get to your car.
Yeah, but the idea is if it induces different dreams, then it lasted. Yeah, it lasted.
It'll affect your psyche big time.
Yeah, because what she's telling me is that I need to take care of my little earth. She says, Craig, your body is little earth. You need to take care of the little earth, you know, and you need to get your fluid in your brain, which you've got too much of, and it needs to flow down to your tailbone and back again, you know, and then maybe we can talk about earth and body, you know, and everything. Well, I guess we only got a couple minutes left. Next time, Dawn, I want to thank you so much for that dream. It's just beautiful. And Gary, your dream was, I really liked. I'm not going to forget that image of the snake wisdom and the supplements for learning, and it's linked with the long forgotten wife. Okay.
Oh, I know. What an image.
It is. I mean, Gary, your dream series, I'd like to get in a, of course, I'd like to do this with Roy and Charles too. It's just, it might be nice one of these times is to take all Roy's dreams, all Gary's dreams, all Charles' dream, and all Dawn's dreams, and just go through them one by one and see if we can, there's anything there that we can spot as a continuing narrative, you know, through the dream. But anyway, thank you. This is just a lovely experience, everybody. I was telling them at the start, I said, boy, wasn't it funny when I fell asleep that one time? And then right about 8:53, I fell asleep, or no, 6:53, I fell asleep. So I woke myself up. Well, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, Roy and Gary, Charles, Dawn. See you later now.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.